Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 184.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension? Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom.
Etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kid this? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do, Who fans. Welcome aboard of episode 184. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. A Doctor Who with a capital W.
Yeah.
Not a lowercase w.
Not for long, though.
Not for long.
For long, my friend.
Yeah.
I saw you watching some little video about that, weren't you, this week, about the new logo and why it's how it is, but it didn't change your mind, did it?
Not really.
No.
Yeah, that was a cool video, actually. Chatting about it over in the Discord server. Yeah. Conversation got onto the logo and stuff, and somebody said, I think somebody had noticed it on something. There was something coming out. Might have been the Titan comics or something. They mentioned the logo. Said, Gary's not going to be happy about this. So some chat rolled on about that. And then somebody posted a video. So watch this. And the YouTube channel, 5 Who Fans, they did a proper breakdown of it when it first got announced by the BBC. It was a proper 25-minute long video, half hour, of going into the details of the typography and the colours and the reasons behind, or the supposed reasons behind certain things. So it was really interesting. And I think the main reason they said that they didn't make the W larger or uppercase like the D in the word Doctor is because when it's used just as the word Who, in the round circle, it's meant to be just a simple word mark of the word Who. So if you had a bigger W there, it would look a bit off because it's just 3 similar size letters. So yeah, that was an interesting video. It kind of changed my mind. I mean, as a designer, I kind of get certain decisions they made around, why they did certain things. But then somebody else had mentioned, I think it was on Twitter actually, somebody said, after I posted that video to Twitter, somebody said, yeah, as a designer, I feel that it's a very nice sort of type, a very nice display font, and it works when it's framed on something else nice. So, the video that they released, that the BBC released that little 10-second reveal of the logo. And it's got the volcanic rocks in the background. And
TARDIS shooting through it all,
Yeah. So when you've got something like that, where you've got a nice dark background and you've got the nice large logo and it's framed properly, then it works. But when you put it on something very busy, like a magazine cover or something, then a lot of people don't feel this way, and that's completely cool. But for me, it just feels like it loses the impact a little bit. I think if you frame it perfectly and you've got the right background, then it can work. But you won't be able to have that every single product and every single thing you put out there. So,
which is what they're doing, isn't it? They're putting it on everything. It's an interesting video, actually. I'm glad you retweeted it because I thought it was about, I think it was about 22 minutes, half an hour, I can't remember. But I thought I'll probably just watch the beginning to see what it's about. I ended up sitting there watching the whole thing, and I found it quite interesting because a lot of the 5 Who Fan videos are quite comical, aren't they? So I wasn't sure if it's going to be one of their sort of sort of taking the mick sort of videos, you know, where there's just comedy, in other words. So I wasn't sure at first if what they were saying was supposed to be funny or if it was true. And then obviously as you get into the video, you realise it's, you know, one of their more serious ones where they're making really good points. It's a really good video, actually. They were sort of saying, they were saying that there's no capital W because it's a free-flowing words, you know, the new series is going to be, there's not going to be a big sort of complicated sort of mess around it. It's free flowing and easy to read and all this sort of stuff. They read quite a lot into it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. The only thing I can't decide on is because I still quite like it, but I totally agree with something you tweeted the other day. To me, it would make much more sense if they used that for the new stuff. Classic logo for the classic series. It's not difficult. Yeah. So I totally agree with that because I like the new logo, but you're right. It sort of doesn't suit certain things. So like they're putting it on the new audiobooks of like the Dominators and the Mutants, aren't they?
That's right.
And I don't think they look very good with the new logo. I think it does get totally lost because it's just that one line at the top. You know, whereas on, like you said, in the sort of little promo video, I think it looks fantastic in that sort of surrounded by the volcanic rock. And I love that. So I'm sort of a bit torn. I agree with you. I think, you know, it works in certain places and not so well in other places. Whereas the other one's so bold, it kind of just, you could plonk it on anything, really. I don't know if I agree with them. They said it should never be stacked. They were like, never stack Doctor and Who underneath with the new logo.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it looks too bad like that. But, you know, they were absolutely dead against it, weren't they? Like, that should never be done. But I don't know. I still think it kind of looks interesting.
It can do. I think that the point they were making was the horizontal line that seems to run through.
All the way through, yeah.
That's meant to sort of direct your eye from left to right. And it's meant to sort of, you know, it sort of insinuate this kind of... Because they did go really far into it, didn't they? Like you said, and
it was really good. As I said, I got quite sucked in. I thought I'd watch 5 minutes or so, and I watched it all the way through. I was quite interested. Yeah.
So they talked about this theory of whenever you see images of a subject to the left looking to the right, that indicates you're looking to the future. And if you look at a picture and somebody's on the right, and this is all sort of standard sort of compositional things, and that line that's going through is meant to kind of say, well, this is the left to right momentum of the logo. So when you stack it, it breaks that momentum. But I don't know. We can talk about this for a long time. But something it does work on. So the new Series 9 soundtrack that's finally been, you know, released and on its way.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too bad for that because you've got the Doctor and Clara sort of running from an explosion. And the logo's quite large on it. It sort of spans almost from left to right, and it's quite a dark background. So for that, it works really well. Versus something like the new Tom Baker Series 12 Blu-ray box set that's on its way. It doesn't work on something like that for me because they've defaulted to just the solid black version.
Yeah.
With the BBC logo. And it doesn't seem to hold the impact to me because the font that they've used underneath it that says The Collection is a lot heavier. And so my eye's drawn to that more than it is the logo. And I also see, just from a designer's eye, I see the BBC logo as more of an impact than the actual Doctor Who logo as well.
Because it's bold, isn't it? The
exactly.
type. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how far it goes, actually, because I was thinking about, we were talking about Robert Harrop just before we started recording. I was thinking about their branding because I love their boxes. They're very much in the sort of classic style with the diamond shapes and you know and that. And I was thinking, so they will, you know, because the BBC seem to be forcing everybody, or not forcing, but you know what I mean. They're telling everyone this is the new logo. We want it on everything. Like Big Finish have started to put it on some of their releases, and again, to me, it really doesn't suit their style of cover. It seems to get totally lost on their covers because they normally have that sort of bar at the side, don't they, with the logo in, which looks great. But now they've got the bar at the side and then this sort of stick thin logo across the top, and it doesn't have anywhere near as much impact. So on that sort of stuff, it gets lost. I was thinking, so will companies like Robert Harrop that are officially licensed on BBC, are we going to see, you know, when the Mandrill comes out, is he going to have a box with that new logo on, or will they let them keep the thing? I don't know how far they're going with it, if you know what I mean, because I really can't see that working on like the Robert Harrop box. Can you? I just can't. Can't see that how that's going to work. In terms of their style and stuff. So it's a tricky one.
Absolutely, mate. It's a tricky one, and we can talk about it for ages and ages. But which is something that came up in Convo on the Discord. So, and then that video when I found it, because somebody put a link to it, and I haven't watched any 5 Who fans videos in ages, so that was good to it was good to watch that and get another point of view. But they seem to really like it though.
Yeah, I was going to say, just before we move off that, I'll tell you that the other bit I found really interesting was when they talked about the marketing team that did all the stuff for Series 8, and then the BBC got rid of them for Series 9, and we didn't have anyone doing anything for Series 9. And then they were saying they kind of did their own in-house version for Series 10. And that was very interesting to sort of hear all about that, and, the fact that they felt no need to sort of make any... Because actually, when you look back at some of the stuff that I forget the name of the people that did it, but whoever the BBC employed to do the graphics and all that for Series 8, I think I'm right in saying, the promotional stuff, they did the 50th anniversary promo as well with all the doctors in, which I thought was great. So that gives you an idea of their sort of standard. It was really cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then the BBC just didn't have anything for Series 9, and I thought that's interesting. They just didn't feel the need to promote it, or didn't want to really bothered about any promotional stuff. And then Series 10 they kind of did a little bit in-house, but that's quite interesting as well. I guess you'd call it a cutback, wouldn't you? You'd say, well, we're not going to do it for this series because it's probably too much money, and it might explain why the ratings were going down a little bit if people didn't know the show was back. I don't know. It was very interesting.
It was, yeah. I'll post a link to it to anyone that hasn't watched it. It's worth a watch.
It is,
if you've got similar views on the logo. So coming up today's show, we have got 0 news.
No.
As seems to be par for the course at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of bits of merch, though.
Yeah.
Before that, how you been? You've been on some travels, haven't you, buddy?
I've been on my travels. Yeah, I went popped over for a very brief little jaunt. That was a Freudian slip. Jaunt. I meant to say that was totally unintentional. A little jaunt. Over to Amsterdam, and I had such a cracking little couple of days over there. It's a great place, and I've not been there for years. But you know what's coming. And my other half knew what was coming as well, because it was kind of business. My partner had a job interview over there, so it was kind of business. But obviously, then the rest of it, we were just able to relax for a couple of days. But I was like, oh, well, if we're in Amsterdam. That's where they filmed Arc of Infinity, and I wouldn't mind trying to find that house with a fountain in the front that's supposed to have a crypt behind it, isn't it? They go down and see that funny bird-like creature, and all sorts of stuff kicks off. So I was thinking, I'd like to go there, but anyway, I wasn't sure because we really weren't there for a very long time. But we managed to take in a few little locations. I have to say that there's lots of running over bridges in Arc of Infinity.
Yes, yeah.
I hadn't counted on the fact that there are actually so many bridges in Amsterdam, so it was very difficult to work out which was the ones in the actual story. I mean, I could have done more research before we left, but I kind of figured I'd go over them like, I'll probably recognize the sort of house in the background, because I'm normally quite good at that. But no, I've no idea if I went across a bridge that Peter Davison ran across, but we were sat looking at some flamingos. And I sort of thought, I'll just wait to time this. I've got to get the timing right for this to ask. So we're sat there looking at flamingos, and I'm like, so it's 3 o'clock. Don't suppose we could go and find that manor house? What? I was like, well, no, it's just, as we're here, I'd really love to see it. It's not a manor house. I don't know what it is. It's a big old house. And so we did. And we had to get on a tram because it's not exactly in the centre of Amsterdam, so we had to take a sort of 20-minute tram ride to get to it. But it was so worth it, actually, because it was sort of down, it was a sort of away from all the sort of busy crowds, and it was really nice. And it's actually a sort of restaurant stroke cafe now. So I stood out the front, I took 1,000 pictures of the fountain and the house itself, and a picture of me in front of it, and all that. And then I went and sat inside it and had a nice glass of wine, and was sort of sat there thinking, this is awesome.
Was that Omega's place in Arkham?
So yeah, I was going to say, I can't remember now because I haven't watched it for a while. It's Tegan's cousin, isn't it? Goes down. He has to pretend because there's no crypt there. But he goes behind the fountain in front of the big old house, and and then into a crypt, and then there's this funny bird creature comes out and shoots him, and then his friend goes down and turns into a zombie or something, and I can't remember. It's all it's all to do with Omega. Yeah, Omega pops up later and starts running around Amsterdam before turning into a crispy fried Peter Davison, if you remember.
That's right.
So it's all a bit thing. But yeah, it's just really cool to actually go inside and have a look at it and see that location. So once again, another holiday ruined by me insisting on it's no good taking me anywhere where they filmed Doctor Who and expecting me not to have to try and find the locations. My other half should know this by now, but we did. It was nice. We sat in there, we had a nice glass of wine, we looked out across the fountain, and the houses across the road actually are beautiful. They're all different colours. It was very, very nice, and it was just great to be sat in a Doctor Who location again. I was thinking, I'm in my element again here. So that was really cool.
Was it a Frankendale house? Was it
something like that? Yeah. Frankendale house. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Omega's
I wanted to.
Place.
Yeah, Omega's home. We'll say. I don't think it is, but let's call it Omega's home because I can imagine him living, sitting in there. I asked if I could go upstairs as well because there's two sort of restaurants either side of it, and then the sort of main house is in the middle. It's all a bit weird. So I was like, "Oh, can I go upstairs, or is that private?" And the guy, they were so laid back in there. I loved the people over there. He's like, "Yeah, sure, go have a look." I was like, "Okay, thanks." So I just wandered up and was wandering around. It was beautiful up there. It was all old paintings hanging on the wall, and it was immaculately clean. And apparently they use it for functions and stuff. And so I took a few pics and that. Yeah, I was in my element, mate. It was absolutely brilliant. I now want to watch Arc of Infinity though, which could ruin it all because I can't remember if it's good or not. But we haven't reviewed that, have we? Or have we?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, I'll save it. I'll save it to when we review it. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing it again, just so I can sort of sit there and think, I was there. And so was Peter Davison back in 1983.
Hold on. I think we have.
No, we haven't. I've got the review. I've just had a look.
Sorry.
No, we haven't. I thought we had as well. Yeah. It's funny. I really wanted to tell the guy in the restaurant as well because I've got the DVD case with me, and I really wanted to say to him, "Oh, do you know this was filmed here back in 1983?" And then I was thinking, he looks about 18 at the most. He's not going to care, is he? So I didn't. I sort of kind of just left the DVD case on the table, and I thought if he says anything, then I'll light up like a light bulb. Say, "Oh yes," but he didn't. So that's been me, mate, skipping around Amsterdam, drinking wine, looking for Omega, and then back to reality now, back home. I did listen to a bit of Big Finish yesterday though.
Oh, cool. Which one?
And I really liked it. So they literally just come out. I don't know how you say it. The Heliax Rift. Heliax Rift. So it's a Peter Davison.
Yeah.
Heliax Rift. Peter Davison story, and it's got the geezer out of it's me trying to sound cool. The geezer out of In-Betweeners, the guy out of In-Betweeners. I don't know what his name is. Won't surprise any listeners, but he's in it, and it's a unit story. So it's just Peter Davison and unit. Blake Harrison, that's his name.
Oh yeah.
And so I've listened to the first two parts yesterday, and I really like it so far. I'll probably listen to the rest this afternoon. I'll let you know next week if it carries on being good, because a friend of mine said that he listened to it and loved the first two parts and then thought the third and fourth part really let it down. I was like, oh no, don't say that. But I really enjoyed this yesterday. It was a real good, as I said, listen to two parts and then I had to get on with something else. So yeah, I'll let you know next week I'll listen to the rest this afternoon and let you know if it's a good one. But yeah, that was nice to get a bit of Big Finish in the week.
Yeah. Apparently there's some good Davison ones out recently. Ghost Walker's got good reviews.
Yeah.
I think you didn't like that one as much as some others. But
is that the one that I didn't? Yeah, because there was a sort of trilogy with the crowded TARDIS team, and I always buy them because I like that TARDIS team. But I've actually only listened to the first one in that range, and didn't do it for me. I know who's the chap who reviewed it for us? I'm so sorry. I always forget the name.
Jordan Shortman.
Yeah, he really liked it, didn't he? And told me I should give it another go when I was in a better mood. So I might do that. But yeah, but this is just Davison on his own. So there's no companion or anything with him in this one. It's just him and Unit, which is quite a good pairing up. So yeah, I'll let you know. I'll come back to you on that one, but I'm liking it so far. Yeah, really liking it actually.
Yeah, Lee Binding did the awesome cover for that as well.
Oh, it is a good cover. I think that's what drew me in because I was intrigued by Unit and the Fifth Doctor together, and then I thought, oh, no, I really like the cover, and yeah, so I'll listen to the rest of that in the sunshine this afternoon.
Sure,
because it is sunny here in England for once, isn't it? We've actually got sunshine.
The weather's picked up.
It's lovely.
It is lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you, mate? What have you been up to?
Not much, buddy.
No?
No, I've had a very nice quiet one since we last recorded, yeah.
You got the shorts on, you told me. I haven't seen them. I can only see you from the waist up, so I can't confirm this, but...
Who knows what I'm wearing from the waist down when we record.
No.
Depends how warm it is, mate. It could be... normally it's a short situation, because I do get quite warm, because the sun shines on this side of the house, where the room that I'm recording in.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of a greenhouse sometimes, especially when the weather starts to pick up. So it's a short situation.
Short situation, yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Otherwise, not too much. I did catch a bit of Tenet while I was flicking through Netflix because I was bored. Because I'd watched, I'd watched the first 3 episodes of the new Lost in Space that's on Netflix at the moment. Because I was a big fan of the original one.
I've been watching that as well. I've watched the first 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
first 3.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of the old original one from whenever it was, the 60s, 70s. So I thought I'd check that out, which is quite good. But I got 3 episodes in. I thought, right, I want a break now. Just flicking through. Got to the old, on Netflix it says continue watching or watch again, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was obviously Doctor Who was there. So I rewatched. I know I've watched this one so many times, but The Family of Blood.
Cracking 2-parter that is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So a bit predictable because I've seen that one so many times, but you just play it safe sometimes.
Oh, it's a good one. That is. It is one I could happily watch a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still need to catch up with, but you mentioned Big Finish. I still need to catch up and pick up some new ones recently, but, I haven't heard many reviews from the recent McGann one. Ravenous, the first
Ravenous,
one.
no.
Yeah. I've not seen much in the way of reviews and stuff for that at the moment. A couple of people on the Discord have got it and said it was good. But I've not really been... Maybe we'll get Jordan on that. Get Jordan on there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Host Productions, I watched his review of it. He said it was... his sort of conclusion was that it was a good listen, but it sort of lost its way a little bit and a bit jumbled, I think he said.
Right.
He was sort of saying it kind of sets things... he's sort of looking forward to seeing where they go with it in Series 2. I don't know if that meant it was sort of more of a setup or what. Funny enough, it arrived the other day and I had to laugh a bit because Big Finish now... Since a few months back, something arrived all smashed, and I emailed them to say, could you send a new case or could you send a new box because it was all ripped. They now have put this thing on saying extra packaging required in big letters on the box. So they send it wrapped in so much bubble wrap that they can hardly fit it in the box. So it always comes exploding out. So so this one arrived. It got tons of bubble wrap around it. This is Ravenous. It got the whole box was caked in fragile sellotape. So sellotape that's got fragile written in big red letters over it. It's like they'd really gone to town to make sure this arrived safe. So I open it up, and the one that the actual one that they've sent me, it got a sort of big rip at the front of the box, because it's sealed. So they probably didn't notice. They probably just picked one up, wrapped it up the best they could, but didn't sort of actually take time to look at the actual one they sent me, because the one they've sent is sort of got a rip in the front of the box. You got a big dent at the back of it, like in the corner. So one of the cases had got a sort of crack just on the hinge. And I was thinking, I felt like they'd gone to all that trouble to make sure it got to be perfect, but they hadn't actually checked the one they'd sent me.
Oh, no.
But to be fair, you couldn't really tell until you took the cellophane off, because you know what I mean? It's like you took it off and then you were like, that I can lift up it's got a bit of a tear there, and it's got a big dent in the corner. But to be fair to me, you couldn't really see it till you actually looked at it, if you know what I mean. So that was good, but I haven't listened to it yet. And I don't know, I've kind of lost track of McGann a bit. I don't know about you, because we've got like the Time War stuff going on at the same time as Ravenous. Like the next Time War box set comes out fairly soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't even listened to the first one, so I'm a little bit lost in the whole McGann Big Finish timeline at the minute. I don't know where I am with him.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I love McGann on Big Finish, but I've got to go back quite a way to catch up, I feel.
Yes,
at the minute.
Me too.
Yeah, probably back to Doom Coalition. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
So, just quickly before we move on, you mentioned Tennant earlier, which sparked a memory. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if it was him or what's his wife called? Is it Georgia?
Georgia Moffat. Yep.
Yeah. Somebody posted a picture of Tennant on Twitter, and it said sometimes fans need to look up more. Did you see this?
I don't.
So
no.
he spotted a young Doctor Who fan, probably teenager, I would say 12, 13, whatever, quite young. And the teenager stood with his face down, buried in his phone, and he's wearing the Doctor Who T-shirt. And then David Tennant's just kind of stood next to him and taken a selfie without him realising.
Oh, no.
And it says, sometimes Doctor Who fans should look up more. And I'm just sort of thinking, oh, no, I bet that kid's like, hopefully he sees it. It was like, oh, my God. David Tennant was stood next to me and I didn't even know because I was on my phone. But I don't know whether he went up. Yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to think that he went up to him afterwards and said, all right, mate, and took a picture with him. But I thought that was a really cool little selfie. I don't know who posted it.
That sounds cool, though.
Yeah.
Talking of Georgia Moffat or Georgia Tennant, I suppose we should call her.
Georgia Tennant, yeah.
Yeah, she posted a nice picture the other day. Either yesterday, we're recording this on Wednesday, the 18th of April, so our listeners would know, but either yesterday or the day before, it was Peter Davison's birthday. She posted a really nice picture of her and him together, yeah. Georgia, the Doctor's daughter.
Yeah, she's got a box set coming out soon, isn't she?
She has, yeah. I think it's just called Jenny. Yeah. Now the Doctor's wife. In a weird sort of way.
Yeah.
Anyways, we haven't got any news.
We haven't got any news, no.
So shall we get old Grumpy Pants in?
Yeah.
See what he's got.
Old metal drawers.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Titan Comics.
Yay.
Titan Comics does Star Wars.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. 100%.
100%. Obviously, Star Wars didn't copyright or trademark or patent any of these things, but so with Star Wars, you remember when episode... Crikey. What? Hold on.
Force Awakens, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's episode 7. Yeah, 7. Bloody hell. Episodes, yeah. So when episode 7 was announced, there was a bunch of Star Wars novels and comics and stuff, and they had this thing at the top that said, I think they actually said the road to episode 7.
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Or the journey to, something like that. Anyway, Doctor Who has gone down a similar path, so Titan Comics and BBC Studios have announced a 3-part Titan Comics set titled The Road to the 13th Doctor, which is very prominent across the top of the cover. And it's an all-new series starring the 10th, 11th and 12th Doctors. And it's going to lead up to the new series when it goes out in the autumn. Brand new adventures written by James Peaty and a bunch of people doing the covers and so on. And there's a bit of blurb from Titan that says the 10th Doctor encounters lost ghostly spaceships. The 11th Doctor and Alice visit a robot-infested 19th century San Francisco, and the 12th Doctor finds London's Piccadilly Circus transformed into a wasteland of emptiness and pterodactyls. Each issue will contain a serialized story from the creative team behind the new 13th Doctor ongoing comic series written by Jodie Hauser with art by Rachel Scott and Enrica Angiolini. Yeah. So, 3-parter with the new logo.
Yeah.
And the road to the 13th Doctor. So they're just ramping up, aren't they? The hype leading up to Jodie. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure anyone's seen any announcement about this. The first time I saw it was when Crystal D put something on Instagram where the new thing is called BBC Studios. And previously it was BBC Worldwide.
Yeah.
Or the branch of BBC Worldwide that was in the UK possibly is now BBC Studios or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, the 3-parter, mate. You going to get these?
Yeah, actually, I do like the covers on these, and I'm curious to know if you like the logo on it, because I think this I think it does suit these. You know, we were saying earlier how sometimes it looks okay on things and sometimes it doesn't. I think it suits these covers because I really like them. Yeah, I will get these. It's a bit annoying actually because I'd made a decision that because they've brought the other ranges to a close, you know, like they were doing sort of ongoing stories for all these Doctors, and I thought, right, once that last 12th Doctor comic comes in, that's it. I haven't got the room for any more comics. I haven't, you know, they do 1,000 variants for them. I can never decide which one I want. So I thought I'm not going to start with the new set. You know, I knew they were going to do one, but I thought that's it. I'm not going to get any more Doctor Who comics. So I just haven't got the room. But unfortunately, I've really do like the look of these. But what I am going to do is I'm not going to do my usual trick of ordering all the variants because it's just a thing. So I'll probably just get these covers that we're looking at now because they look really nice to me. Do you like them?
I do
the
like
logo
them.
on them? Yeah.
And there's got the typical style. One of them, the Matt Smith Doctor, has got a very recognisable cover from Will Brooks.
Yes.
So that's more of a photographic sort of Matt Smith. The other two are more sort of commonly comic booky, typical comic book, shall I say. But yeah, they do look quite nice. And there's only 3 parts, so it won't break the bank, I suppose.
No, it's a bit like the 7th Doctor comic, which you pre-ordered recently. And I finally got around to pre-ordering it yesterday, funny enough. And I had to get all the variants because they are really nice. So I know I'm trying to really cut back on the variants, but it's difficult when they're so good. But yes, mate, I will give in. I will get these and see what they're like. Is it just 3 parts, or is it going to be like an ongoing thing? I can't really tell from the blurb. But anyway, either way, yeah, I'll be picking these up. Yeah.
So it's just 3 parts.
Oh, that's not too bad then.
Yeah, the first one's out at some point in July.
Right.
And when the 3 parts are up, they will lead into a new comic run starring the 13th Doctor.
Gotcha. Well, that's quite a nice idea. Yeah.
Alongside the TV series, I suppose. It'll probably launch around the same time as the TV series going live.
And then they'll presumably do like a 13th Doctor comic, I guess.
Yeah.
It's going to lead into that. Very nice. Okay. In other news, there's some good stuff, actually. Forbidden Planet have got a big sale on at the moment of Doctor Who T-shirts. Going from... Well, actually, they've got one on there for 99p, but it's out of stock. So they're mostly $2.99. These are going quick. So by the time you hear this podcast, they may have only got extra small left or something. Because, I jumped on yesterday and I bought 4 of these, maybe even 5. Because at $2.99, they're an absolute bargain. And they got some good ones. So to give you an example, one of the ones I got was the Bad Wolf, which is just a black T-shirt with Bad and in the Bad Wolf written across the top, but it's the DW in the middle of it. So it's BA and then DW Wolf. So I got that one. I also got, there's the 4 Doctor Bands one, which I wasn't sure about, but I was like, well, it's $2.99. It's not that bad. Just the TARDIS with like, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th Doctor all playing different instruments.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's better than it sounds, isn't it? It's a little bit cheesy, but it's better than it sounds. They've got, I already own this, but they've reduced the red T-shirt with the sort of funky TARDIS on the front. What would you call that? Sort of that style. Sort of looks almost like a painting. It's very cool. I bought that full price, but they've now reduced that to $4.99. That's a nice one. Jump on quickly because there's some good T-shirts on there. Is there anyone that's grabbing you, mate, that you're liking the look of?
Yeah, there are a couple on there actually.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, we mean forbiddenplanet.com, not the .co.uk.
Yes.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to it. But if you just go on there and search, I think they've got a sale.
They'll probably add some more because they're selling quite quickly, so they're bound to add some, aren't they?
But there was a couple that did catch my eye that I might pick up. The first one was this. It's like a dark blue T-shirt, and on the front it's got like a Dalek that's kind of morphed into like stars and galaxies and stuff. You see like half of a Dalek, and it's sort of fading away into stars and stuff. Which looks very, very cool. There's also the Gallifrey University baseball style jersey, which is only $2.99, which is really good. The Bad Wolf one that you picked up, that's very cool. That's good. There was another one as well.
The Day of the Doctor one's quite good. It's $7.99 at the minute, but that's quite nice. It's just the artwork for Day of the Doctor that one's on the DVD.
Oh yeah.
So you know, 11 and 12 back-to-back, War Doctor in the middle with flames. That's quite nice.
Yeah. Otherwise, there was another one, but I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, it's a really good sale. I mean, these are normally, in my opinion, are just a few pounds overpriced to me, because they're normally like 16, 17 quid.
Yeah.
But I would say that based on, because I've bought a fair few T-shirts from FP over the years, and I would say that they should be priced around 12, 13 quid. So to pick them up for the majority of these are $2.99 or $4.99. So good value.
Yeah, I always think the same, actually, because like the new logo T-shirts they've just released, they're $17.99, and then you have to pay like, I think it's £5, isn't it, packaging or something. It's quite, it is a bit too much. So yeah, grab these while they're at a good price, because there's some good stuff on there. Yeah, I do hope they add some more, because I could do a few new tees. Mine are all looking a bit washed out now.
Yeah, no, same, mate. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
there we go. Check out FP. Get yourself a bargain. Yeah. Right, that's it. News on merch. Your lot. Well, just merch done. Review time.
Yes, looking forward to this.
Right. Another first for us. What are we doing, buddy?
It's just the music's already floating into my head. So yeah, we're kicking off our Torchwood reviews with the very first episode, which is called Everything Changes.
We're separate from the government, outside the police, beyond the United Nations.
Who are you?
Torchwood.
Listen to me. We've only got 2 minutes, so it's important that you listen, okay?
Who are you?
Trust me. You're dead.
Owen Harper, Gwen Cooper. Toshiko Sato, computer genius. Susie Costello, she's second in command.
And this is Yanto Jones.
You're an alien catcher.
Yes, I am.
Got any good aliens?
Tons of them.
That's a hell of a job.
Sure is.
On the morning of January the 21st, 1941, Captain Jack Harkness failed to report for duty.
That couldn't be me.
What's going on, Gwen? You seen ghosts?
The 21st century is when it all changes. You gotta be ready.
Whoa.
This is one of those times where the trailer, the action-packed style of the trailer that BBC Three put together matches the episode pretty much.
Yeah, yes, true, yeah.
There are many times where I've played a trailer, especially for Classic Who, and it's nothing like the story at all. So, Torchwood. We've wanted to do these for quite a while, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
And we've had I can't tell you how many times that we've had a tweet or an email or somebody at a convention has said, so when are you going to do Torchwood then? So we're on it. As part of our new review schedule.
Yes.
Everything Changes was broadcast on BBC Three.
I know, which surprises me. I've completely forgotten that.
Yeah, I thought this was a BBC Two or a BBC One thing for some reason. So back when BBC Three was a thing, before Class shut it down, it was back in on the 22nd of October 2006. So just a year after Doctor Who had been back on the screens.
Yeah.
And it was written by Russell T Davies, of course.
Man, yeah.
Overseen by Brian Minchin, who was also producer on Doctor Who. Julie Gardner. And co-produced by Chris Chibnall, no less.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, the first time it aired, the very, very first time on BBC Three, they actually played this and Day One together as like a really long sort of pseudo-pilot kind of thing. And there was no break in the middle either. It was just one really long Torchwood programme, and all the credits were the same at the end, and it was just one big thing.
Oh.
But Everything Changes is its own thing nowadays, if you've got the box set and so on.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on, first of all, what are your thoughts on Torchwood in general and this episode, Everything Changes?
Well, I like Torchwood. I really liked it, actually. It's going to be really interesting going through the series because it has been a long time since I've watched it, you know, because it kind of fizzles out for me. I don't remember taking to the sort of last series set in, you know, in the US. I remember liking it to begin with and then getting quite bored of it. But, you know, we won't get to review that for a while, so we'll see if my opinions differ on that. But yeah, I've always liked Torchwood. I think it fitted in really nicely alongside Doctor Who, but it also totally stood on its own 2 feet. You know,
Yes.
whereas I hate to mention it, but whereas Class I felt just didn't feel anything connected to Doctor Who and had bits of Doctor Who jarringly put into it. You know, like I was watching this yesterday and I was thinking, we totally don't need, like, you know, the 10th Doctor to walk in now like Capaldi did at the end of the first episode of Class. We don't even need the Doctor in this. This is totally standing on its own 2 feet. It's been a very long time since I've watched this first episode, and weirdly in my mind, and probably because they edited the first 2 stories together, I was thinking it was the next episode. So I was waiting for a certain female alien to come in and start doing stuff, and I was thinking, yeah, so that explains it then, because that's what in my head I was thinking that was the first episode. But this one, it's a real sort of there I can see a lot of similarities to Rose, because this whole thing we're discovering Torchwood through Gwen Cooper all the way through, aren't we? She's like our eyes and ears. She's curious. Who are they? She gets introduced to them, and a bit like Rose did with the Doctor, she sort of discovers all the hidden layer and stuff, and we're seeing the story through her eyes. I've got to say, I really, really enjoyed watching this yesterday. A little bit more than I was expecting, and I was expecting to like it, if that makes sense. Like, I knew that I liked Torchwood. But there are obviously episodes that I think are really good, and some that for me just don't hit the mark at all. But I wasn't expecting a lot from the first episode. I knew it was going to be an introductory story and not throwaway, but I knew it was there to do a job, and then we would get into, you know, proper sort of Torchwood once the team were together and we're on our way in the second episode. So I wasn't expecting a lot from this in terms of that, but I was expecting to enjoy it. But I really enjoyed it. I sat there totally engrossed in it. It was like watching it for anew, because I suppose I haven't watched it for so long. But yeah, I wasn't bored at all. It really nips along at a great pace. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this yesterday. I'm very excited to sort of carry on and see, you know, the rest of the series again. The only thing I would say, did you watch this on DVD or Blu-ray?
I watched this on Blu-ray.
Right. I'm just curious to know, right, because I bought the DVDs when they came out, and then, you know, being wanting to throw my money away as I do every week, I bought the complete Blu-ray set when it came out. But I don't think I've ever watched it on Blu-ray. I know that sounds thing, but I'd watched the DVDs, but I wanted to have them on Blu-ray, so I think that box set's been sat there. But yesterday, I did find that the music, because I think they've remastered they've rejigged it a little bit.
Yes,
I did find the music much louder than the dialogue, and it might be my TV, I don't know, but I was finding myself having to constantly keep turning it up and down, and I just wondered if you found that. Like, the dialogue seemed a lot quieter. I don't remember having that problem on the DVD. I could be wrong, but it was very noticeable for me yesterday watching this. Like, the music was so loud. As I said, I was sort of, I did have to sort of constantly keep adjusting it through, which got a bit irritating. But it might be my setup, so I don't know. I was just curious whether you found the music really loud in it.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that's not just unique to Torchwood.
No, I remember the Doctor Who had that problem for a while, but I just don't remember when I'm watching DVDs. Don't remember having that particular issue, but it was very noticeable yesterday. I think because they've mixed the soundtrack into I don't know, maybe they've done something to the Blu-ray, but through some very expensive sound equipment, it probably sounds amazing. But yesterday it was kind of like there was sort of dialogue, and then there's a bit where they go into a pub where there's a fight happening, and the music kind of, oh god, it was so loud. I was like turning it down because it sort of nearly blew the speakers. It was so much louder than the dialogue before it. But yeah, I was just curious whether you'd had that issue as well, or whether it was just me.
Yeah, a little bit. I think there was a setting that I put on my surround system or something like that. Yeah, because I think if you leave it on the normal surround thing, I'm sure I investigated this a couple of years ago, because I had it a lot with various Blu-rays.
Yeah, me too. I had it with the Star Trek set, the original series. They mixed the mono track into stereo, and God, it was so, the levels while watching it just drove me nuts. So I always had to change it before I put an episode. I always had to change it to mono, because it was the only way I could actually watch the episode. I don't have to constantly turn it up and down. And it's probably, as I said, if you've got expensive equipment, it's probably great. But for someone who's just got normal old TV, it was quite frustrating, actually.
Yeah, I think there was a setting that I changed it back to something and then upped the center speaker level quite a lot and something like that. But I know
I could
exactly
probably adjust it. Yeah, I was going to say I might be able to adjust it, but I was just curious whether it's just me. I always get paranoid, like, oh no, is it the first batch of the Blu-rays where they were faulty? Oh no, I start getting panicky and thinking I've got like a dud copy or something. But yeah, but anyway, to get back to the story, I really enjoyed it, mate. Really thoroughly enjoyed this as an opener. It was a real simple story with a great little tiny little twist at the end, which I mean, it's coming if you've seen it before, but I'm sure back in the day when I first watched this, I would have been like, whoa. I wouldn't have seen it coming. It's not obvious. It's not laid there, for us to see. So I really enjoyed it, mate. What about you?
Yes, I really like this one, actually. Yeah, I think it's a good. The reason why I like it is because it's one of those really good RTD written episodes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
where he does this thing so well. I mean, I can't remember how many times that we've praised his writing for really good characters.
Yeah, he does.
And it's just another example of that with the first one of Torchwood. And you're right, it's very similar to Rose, where it's got that initial setup kind of feel, where they don't explain everything in too much detail, but he gives you just enough to get on board with the characters and the story. And then it leaves it to the really good writing of in this case, Gwen Cooper, that character. So you're kind of traveling through the story with her at this point, and you're discovering Torchwood with her.
Yeah.
So I can imagine it would be really cool for people who haven't seen Torchwood before, for you to not watch it, but sort of go along and investigate what Torchwood is through the eyes of Gwen Cooper.
Yeah.
So I really like that writing. I mean, they could have done it very, what's the word? They could have done it quite explicit, where they said, this is, right from the very beginning. Sometimes they do like these little narrative opening things and, but they just kept it until sort of 2/3 of the way through the story. And then it's down to Captain Jack to say, this is who we are. This is what we do. And then there was kind of two twists for it for me, because there was one sort of 2/3 of the way through where you think, when he's talking to Gwen in the bar and he's going through everything about who Torchwood are and what they do, I thought, when I first watched it, I thought that's the point where he's going to say, so do you want in?
Oh, right, yeah.
And then
actually he's drugged her, isn't he?
Yeah, he's drugged her and he's going
to forget it all.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, it's interesting. And then at the end, we have the other twist that you mentioned. So I think overall, as a launch pad into Torchwood, I think it's very, very good. And one thing that I was surprised about, because like you, I have not seen it in quite a long time. In my head, I was thinking, oh, it's Torchwood, so because they've aimed it at a slightly more adult. Actually, no, they've aimed it at an adult audience. In my head, I thought it was littered with swear words and innuendos and everything, but there was only a couple. So maybe that comes a bit later on.
It's funny. I was waiting for that as well. I mean, there are a few swear words in it, but most of them didn't feel out of place. If there was only one bit for me where I felt like it was unnecessary, kind of thrown in there for the sake of it, and it's the bit where what's his name? Owen. Sorry, when Owen goes to the bar and puts on the magic scent that makes the girl fall for him, and then there's a scene where her boyfriend comes out and starts confronting him, and there's a few sort of expletives there which I felt like they were thrown in because it's an adult show. They didn't feel natural, like earlier on in the episode where it was kind of just used as everyday wording, which I think we do, if you know what I mean. But that felt very much like, oh, I'm coming out and I'm being bullshit and I'm going to say these swear words because it's an adult. That was the only time in this episode where I felt like, well, that wasn't really needed, to be honest with you. It kind of felt like it was put in because it was because they could, basically. But that was the only point. I have a feeling there might be more of that to come from my memory, but I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah, I thought there was more in it. But
I did.
I'm pretty sure there's in later episodes, and especially in series 3, I think. there is quite a few harsh words spoken regularly. And there's also, and we didn't see it in this one, but in the next episode, day 1, it also gets a bit steamier.
Gets a bit racy.
A bit racy, yeah. So I think it's quite important to mention, because I put this, when I put the request out on Facebook and Twitter for your reviews and so on, if we've got any younger listeners, it is important to note that this is aimed at a more adult audience than Doctor Who. And I put in the text on those that if you are a younger listener, go and check with mum and dad first before you stick Torchwood on, because you know, we do have some younger listeners, you know.
Yeah, we do.
And we're a family show.
And it'll be interesting for me to see how they gauge it with Torchwood, because when you review something, you watch it through reviewing eyes. It's not like I'm watching it at home and the language doesn't bother me. But when I'm watching it as a review, you take other things into account. And one of those things I will be taking into account as we review it is, does this suit a Doctor Who spin-off? You know, have they gone too adult? Did they push the boundaries too far? Because, God, I hate to go back to it again, but Class for me went way beyond what they should have in terms of the gore, swearing and all that. You know, that I kept thinking of that scene, actually, where I can't remember the characters' names in Class. I don't know. She gets a spike put through her eye, and it was so graphic and horrible. And I was thinking that just doesn't belong in a Doctor Who spin-off. So one of the things I'm going to be sort of looking at as we review these is, did they push the boundaries just right, or did they go a little bit too far in that episode? And for me, they didn't in this one, but I have a feeling, I don't know, we'll see. I don't think they did, but it'll be different watching it as a reviewer rather than just someone who's got it on the TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah, that's an interesting point, because it's like the gore, isn't it? You know, when the guy gets his neck bitten and you get all the blood splurting out. In my mind, that was so much worse than it actually was on TV. Again, I think they got it right. They didn't show much. They just literally showed enough for you to get the picture, and it was a bit like, ugh. But I think, you know, I don't think it was gratuitous, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene, actually. Because when the Weevil, it's the Weevil, isn't it? The
Weevil,
alien,
the Weevil, yeah.
When it bites the porter's neck, you do see a lot of blood sort of
spurts out.
Yeah. But then when it cuts back and the guy's fallen to the floor and the Weevil's just standing there, he hasn't got a drop on his face or.
Oh, right. I didn't know.
So, yeah. I think. Yeah, I'm not going to say that they put certain things in there just for the sake of being adult.
But there are times.
Yeah. And it will be interesting as we go through these, because there are a couple of scenes that I remember later on, not language-wise, but very, very racy.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking. And I honestly can't remember. I'm thinking the next episode, is it going to be, you know, is it going to be a bit too racy for what I would consider to be suitable for a spin-off? I know they're adding it an adult audience, fair enough, but yeah, we'll see. I think we'll see with that.
So yeah, just want to reiterate that if we have any younger listeners, probably below the age of, crikey, I really don't want to shoot us in the foot here, because it's difficult to judge nowadays with, you know, kids today, so desensitized, you know, I don't know what to say, but just to play it safe, if you're below the age of 15, let's play it safe.
Yeah.
Then, and you want to watch Torchwood to go along with our reviews, then please go and check with mum or dad, or both. Don't play them off of each other. Mum said I could watch it. No, she didn't. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought they judged this one fairly spot on.
So far, yeah.
You know, there was a couple of swear words in there and there was a few scenes, but it wasn't like every other word. It wasn't like watching, you know, a Guy Ritchie film.
The thick of it or something like that.
Yeah. So that was quite cool. And there wasn't much in the way of violence, really. There was a few scenes where we just mentioned with the Weevil biting the guy's neck, and scene at the end with the suicide and the gunshot, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So they were few and far between, and they did have a fairly good impact. Like the twist at the end, which we'll come on to, was quite impactful. But overall, I thought it was a good intro into Torchwood.
It does what it needs to do, doesn't it? That's what I kept thinking. It's like really well written. Yeah, just like Rose. Yeah, it's not a complicated story. It's really hard really easy, to follow. And it just introduces Torchwood. I mean, it's a great entrance as well, isn't it? You know, their very first sort of entrance onto screen is brilliant, where it's just like, who are Torchwood? Cue the car bursting in and then walking through the rain looking, super cool and all that. So it's a brilliant way to introduce him. I'll tell you what amazes me, actually, because this obviously went out on BBC Three, as you said. It amazes me how good it looked. It really stood up well in terms of the production values, and it feels quite big budget already. Like all the sweeping shots of Cardiff, and and Captain Jack stood on the end of that building. I blimmin' love that shot. It's so ridiculously over the top but brilliant. It feels like they've put some money into this for a show that was on BBC Three. You know what I mean? Like you said, I thought it was BBC Two. I'm quite amazed it was BBC Three. So it feels like the production values in this episode, and I'm assuming it continues like this. It feels quite like they've put a bit of dosh into it, a bit of time and effort into it. So it looked really good, I thought. A couple of the effects maybe a little bit. They weren't great, but they weren't bad either.
Yeah, I would say that they concentrated more on the physical effects rather than the CG stuff, because the only bad effect really was the only big effect in the episode, and that's when Captain Jack and Gwen are standing on the step and it's raising them up to go up through the bottom of the pathway by the fountain. And that looked quite ropey. I don't think it stood up too well against the test of time, but I would imagine when this went out back in 2006, people were like, oh, this is amazing. They're going to come up right through, the famous Torchwood step, which everyone gets a photo on these days. Yeah. And it looks amazing. It's really cool.
And the Torchwood hub itself looks incredible, doesn't it? I love that set. I mean, it really does feel like there's stuff going on in there. Do you know what I mean? Everywhere you look in that set, it just looks really well lived in. It doesn't look like they've just thought, right, we've got to set here, throw a few things around. There's a spanner. It really looks like there's stuff going on in that place. I'd love to just walk around actually and see all the different bits that they dressed it with, because it's a brilliant set.
It's really cool.
That Torchwood hub,
very cool.
Yeah.
And so when this went out on BBC Three, memory serves, I read this the other day, that it got the highest ratings of anything on BBC Three.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
Which is cool.
It's cool.
Story-wise, actually, effects-wise, like I said, I think they put more into the actual sort of cinematography, physical camera stuff rather than CG, because there are a couple of scenes where it looks amazing. Like you said, where Captain Jack's standing on top of that building.
That's brilliant.
And he's just sort of looking out across Cardiff. And you've got these big...
Is that just like, how have they... Is he CGI'd up there, or is there a man still there with a wire that's CG out, or what? Is he really there?
Oh, I don't know.
I know it's not Captain Jack, or is it? I don't know.
Maybe. I think for the close-up shots, it's him.
It's him.
But when it zooms out, really, I'm assuming it's a helicopter shot, because it zooms out so far you can see the whole of Cardiff, and you can just see him on there. That's probably a stunt double.
Yeah.
Standing up there with a safety cable that's been edited out afterwards. I assume so anyway. And there's a scene at the very end as well where Captain Jack and Gwen are standing on top of the Wales Millennium Centre.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you get that really big, wide panning shot. And one thing I wanted to mention actually before I forget is that this programme is very Welsh.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you thought that Doctor Who was playing up on its Welsh side sometimes, this is a whole nother level. Because a lot of the supporting cast have got, they're full on Welsh, and it very much plays into Cardiff more than anything. So the Cardiff's mentioned a lot. A lot of the scenes and all the locations are iconic Cardiff. So a lot of it's down by the bay, obviously where the Torchwood HQ is. And then a lot of the scenes just where Gwen's like legging around in town, as when she's running to Cardiff Bay, I think, from wherever she is. Another scene where she's in her police uniform and she's around that area. It's just all very much, we're in Cardiff and we want people to know that. It's not just used conveniently as a backdrop and we're going to, just try and say, oh yeah, in a little, there's a little nugget here and there that says we're in Cardiff. It's very, very Welsh, which is a good thing.
Oh, I love that, because it's not Cardiff pretending to be London like a lot of the time in Doctor Who.
Exactly.
It's where it is, and it looks fantastic as well. All the sweeping shots, and they really makes the location. They've really got the best out of the location. I think even just in this first episode, it looked fantastic. The whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, I really want to go back to that bay. I love that. I love to go into that bay. I've only been there once in my life and just stood there thinking, this is it. You're right in the center of it. I kept looking out for the where the Doctor Who experience would be as well. I don't know if you did. I was thinking, where is it? Because they do a couple of really great sweeping shots of the bay, and I'm thinking, so it was just over there somewhere, I think. And I don't know, at one point I thought I spotted it, but then it wouldn't have been there, would it?
I was going to say it would have been in London first, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. So it wouldn't have been there, but I was thinking, where is that spot where it would have been? I'm gonna be looking for that every time I watch it. But yeah, I just thought it really felt like they'd spent some time on this. It looked pretty good. We had the pterodactyl thing flying around the Torchwood hub, which looked a bit ropey, but it was only on screen for seconds. But no, I thought overall it looked pretty decent.
It did look decent. Yeah. Story-wise, I like it. I like that Torchwood were introduced as these kind of mysterious Men in Black almost type of figures where they just show up, do what they need to do, no questions asked. And then they sort of seamlessly disappear into it, because there's a bit where...
Oh, yeah, she follows them, doesn't she?
She follows them, and when they get onto the step, which we later learn is the perception filter that's surrounding the entrance to it, they just disappear, don't they?
Yeah.
And so I like that mysteriousness. And they actually play on it in a funny way, don't they? Because when they allow her to go into the Torchwood hub, to deliver pizza, she's trying to sort of investigate her way in. They wind her up, don't they? So they know that she's coming.
Quite cruel, isn't it? Yeah.
They know that she's there because they've seen her on camera for hours, wandering around and stuff. So they know that she's coming in, and they all look really busy, don't they? Like Toshiko's on the computer and she looks really busy, and Owen's doing something, and Susie's like welding something over in the corner, and Jack's looking very, like he's a million miles away pondering something important. And then they all just break down laughing. They're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what Torchwood is it? It's because she's like, you can see in Gwen's eyes, she's like really, her eyes are huge and she's taking it all in, and she's like, oh my God, these people look really busy. It looks really intense. What's going on? This is Torchwood. Or she doesn't know the name of it, but she's like, what is this thing that's going on? And then they all just sort of rip into each other. Like, I wouldn't have started laughing if you hadn't have broke character. And, so I really like that, because they could have played that really serious, couldn't they? They could have been like...
No, it's good. It's a nice thing, because he says, doesn't he, who's been ordering pizza under the name Torchwood? And Owen's like, oh, sorry.
That'd be me.
Sorry about that. That'd be me. And also that there is some good humour in this, actually. Again, this is, the charms of RTD, isn't he? He's very good at putting in really nice bits of humour in between action. So there's that bit, and then there's the bit when he's showing her the step, the bit you just talked about. And she's like, so you're saying that there's a blimming great hole that no one can see in the floor, while this thing's going up? And he's like, blimmin' heck, I'm showing you something amazing, and you trust you to pick on that. And he's like, so there's lovely moments in this like that, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's another one of those little nods to where it is, because I think he says to her, that is typical Welsh.
Yeah.
It's like, I've just shown you this amazing thing and you're
not even interested.
Picking fault sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that. I keep saying I like, because I do like a lot of things in this. I like the mysteriousness of it before she actually goes in and she gets drugged and her memory wiped and so on. But I like the vulnerability of Torchwood in this, because the way that Gwen perceives them in the first half of the story is that they're these, I think she looks at them as like these federal agents almost, like, high above the police, maybe sort of government funded people who don't have to answer the police and so on. And she kind of gets that as she investigates who they are. And then she goes into the hub, and then they all take the mick out of her and so on. But then we see it from another side as well, if this makes sense. So we see it from Gwen's side, but when they all take the mick and they start laughing and so on, and she realizes that they're not these super serious, intense people.
Yeah.
And then we see the other side where they're in the bar. Captain Jack and Gwen are in the bar, and he's talking her through what they are and what they do. And then she's like, she says something like, "Don't you ever worry about what you've got?" Because he tells her they've got all these weapons and aliens and so on. And he says quite seriously to her, nothing ever leaves the Torchwood hub. And
and then the next thing they've all got stuff. I really like that as well.
They're all taking stuff home, aren't they, out the office?
Yeah. So, actually, you would though, wouldn't you? After you've been there, you would just think, I'll just take that with me and try that at home.
Yeah. So you've got Owen with the fragrance that attracts people.
I'd love
like
to get
mad.
some of that.
Yeah. And then you've got Toshiko that's got the very quick scanner that holds up to a book, and then it's in the computer, and all that stuff. Yeah. And then you've got Susie with the hand
glove,
glove thing, which actually leads into the last part of the storyline, doesn't it? It's quite important because from the beginning, when we first see them investigate the recently murdered body, when Gwen first sees them, everyone thinks that they're investigating the body, which is quite cool. And it turns out, again, when they're talking in the bar, he's like, "No, we've got no interest in dead bodies. That's a police's job. We were testing out the glove. It's got nothing to do with the body," which kind of irks her a little bit because she's a policewoman.
It's a bit cold, isn't it? Yeah.
And the glove actually plays into the storyline, which is cool.
I love that bit when he looks up at her in the very start as well, and he's like, she thinks she's just watching them, and he's like, "What do you think?" Looking at her, she's like, "Oh my God, he knew I was here the whole time." I loved that. Really cool. I also love the fact that Jack wants to know if there's anything when you die, because of course he can't die now, can he?
That's correct.
He can't die, and so he's really, all he wants to know is if what happens when you die, is it because I can't get there, sort of thing. So that was a really good scene, and that's what I mean about this standing on its own 2 feet, because you've got these little references. Like, I love the fact that it ties into the fact that he can't die because Rose saved him as the bad wolf, didn't she? That's my understanding of what he's saying is that ever since he was brought back to life, and obviously if you've been watching Doctor Who, it's because Rose brought him back to life, he can't die. So there's a little nice, lovely little tie-in to the series, and the other little tie-in is we see the Doctor's hand in the hub, don't we, in the jar. So he's got the Doctor's hand, and then right at the very end, and as I said, at no point watching this was I thinking, this doesn't feel Doctor Who. I'm waiting for the Doctor. I didn't think that at all. Right at the very end, when they're having the chat on the Millennium Stadium roof, he talks about why. She's like, "Well, how did you survive being shot in the head?" And he's like, "I can't die. I'm waiting for the Doctor to fix me, but it has to be the right Doctor." Brilliant. That's all it needed. And because obviously he's, Captain Jack's been in Doctor Who, so he's, there's that connection. But it just fits so nicely.
It does.
Next to Doctor Who, so far, just going by this first episode, I just thought these lovely little nods that us Doctor Who fans know what he's talking about. It's not really in your face. It's just there. I just thought that, so nicely intertwined into Torchwood, and that's why I think it fits really nicely alongside Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what's one of the many, many problems with Class. And with Class, it was all or nothing. So in the first episode of Class, we needed the cameo from Capaldi to make it aware to everybody, as if we didn't know that this was a Doctor Who spin-off. So we needed the Doctor in there to sort of cement that in its place. But then after that, there was hardly a mention of anything of Doctor Who in most of the episodes. So it was kind of weird. It was like extreme and then nothing in terms of its, bringing it into the show. Whereas this, it works because Captain Jack references those things, doesn't he, subtly in conversation?
and it helps that he was in Doctor Who, and before this, because I suppose that's the other thing with Class that was so jarring, is that none of the characters were in it before or after, because I had this terrible sense of dread that they were going to crop up in series 10. I thought they're going to try and force it into Doctor Who now, because but that didn't happen, thank goodness. But it definitely helps that we're kind of familiar with Jack already. But I just love the fact they take these strands, like the fact that Rose brought him back to life, and so he can no longer die. And it's such a good thing as well, because it will help in the series as it goes on. The fact that he can't be killed is going to really sort of play into the storylines, isn't it? As we go along, it's bound to. Yeah. So, and again, it's a good mystery, isn't it? It's like she can't stand it. She's like, "I've just seen you shot in the head, and now you're fine. How can that be?" And she's already intrigued by him, as are we, as the viewer. Yeah.
It's really cool, that scene, actually. So the storyline sort of culminates with Susie.
Susie, yes.
Wanting more power because she's seen what the glove can do.
That's it,
but she knows that, she won't be allowed to do it. So she's like, oh my God, if they find out what I've been doing, I'm in for it. So she's going to go on the run. And when Captain Jack appears, she shoots herself because she thinks that's a better alternative than having to deal with them, with those guys. And Gwen's reaction is just, she's really good in that last bit because Susie actually shoots Captain Jack first, doesn't she? Because he comes up through the step.
And she's like, you think I can't see you?
Yeah, the perception.
Because we think she can't see him because of the perception filter, but she's got used to it, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So, which again, great little twist.
Yeah. So she shoots him and then Gwen's just shocked.
Yeah.
She's like, can't believe what's just happened.
What's happening? Yeah.
Because she knows that she's about to get shot herself because Susie can't leave any witnesses as to what's going on. So she's about to get shot, and it's not until Captain Jack comes back to life before her very eyes, Susie shoots herself, and then she just can't handle it because she falls to her knees, her hands and knees, doesn't she? And she can't breathe almost. It's like, it's too much. Everything she's seen in the past half an hour is just too much for her brain to comprehend, and she just can't. She's so good. We'll come on to her character, Eve Miles, in a little while, but I like how the story sort of builds up to that point, and it's quite an intense scene.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of, right, Captain Jack's sort of tidying things up. He's put her body in the morgue and he's put the glove away, and then it's on to business, really. He's like, so are you in or out?
Yeah.
And then it's on to the next one. So
it's a good twist, isn't it? Having Susie turn out to be the villain. I wouldn't have seen that coming. I mean, I know it now because I've seen it before, but I wouldn't have seen that coming. And I think she plays it really well. And also, I love the fact that this blade that kind of triggers Gwen's memory, I love the fact that we don't really see it at the time, because I kept thinking, well, what is that blade? We're on that journey with her, aren't we? We have seen it, but not enough to be like, well, that's obviously a thing. That's obviously going to come back later. So we've been shown it, but I didn't spot it while she's looking around the room. And so again, we're discovering it with Gwen, aren't we? Because we're having flashbacks of her almost thinking, well, where have I seen that blade? What's the relevance of that blade? And it turns out to be it's her soldering it when she first goes into the hub. So that's where she sort of twigs that it's that Susie is actually the villain, and she must have stabbed him in the start. And I think it's a great little twist, personally.
It's cool,
it makes you intrigued more about Susie's character as well. You almost feel like it's a shame that she's killed off so soon because she's obviously been with them a while, hasn't she? And I think Big Finish have picked up this character, haven't they? I think they've done some audio with her. So I might at some point go back and get that one or those, however many they've done, because there is a character there I want to know more about, and she's very quickly replaced by Gwen, which is all great in terms of this first episode. But it's nice that we've got this sort of mystery character as well that's been part of Torchwood for goodness knows how long, I
think she comes back in Torchwood at some point.
Oh, yes.
Pretty sure she's back in it.
No, yeah. I think she does. Yeah. How does she come back? I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, let's not say.
No, I actually can't remember.
Yeah, in case people are going through this with us. It'd be cool if people are watching this for the first time as well. I
completely forgot as well that she does. Yeah, I can't remember what that's all about, but that'd be interesting when we get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the last we've seen of Susie.
Good. I'm glad to hear it because I felt there was more there.
But no, she's a good character and it's a good twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, some characters.
Okay.
Some of the supporting cast. So the policeman that's with Gwen for the first half of the episode.
Yeah.
Tom Price. Quite a funny guy.
I was going to say, this highlights what you say about RTD all the time. Very minor little character, only has a handful of lines, but brilliant. You instantly like him. He's funny. He connects really well with Gwen. Just a really likable character, and you totally get his character right from the get-go, don't you? He's good at his job, but he's also quite laid back and chilled and fun. So I liked him. I know we see more of him, and I think he's a great little side character.
Yeah, he's in it for most of Torchwood, I think. Not every episode, but he's in it for. I think he's in it for most of it.
Good.
He pops up here and there, but like you said, really good. RTD's he knows how to bottle magic. RTD, doesn't he? In terms of writing characters, and you've hit the nail on the head. Even somebody that's in it just a little bit here and there knows how to write them. So you kind of, you like the character, you think, oh, cool, but you're not invested too much that takes your eye off the main cast, which is very cool. So I thought he was quite a good addition and works well with Eve Miles as well. They bounced off each other quite well.
They do, yeah. There's an instant sort of chemistry there, rapport, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have there was quite a few sort of other police officers in it that are around the police station and so on, which we don't really get to see too much of them. I think the only other one was the police sergeant, I think, that Gwen was asking her to find out who Jack Harkness was.
That's right, yeah.
I thought she was quite good. Quite funny.
Yeah. And it brings in another little mystery, which I like as well, because she's like, well, there was only one Jack Harkness, and he was from whenever it was, years and years ago, so it can't possibly be him. And you're like, but it's obviously going to be him, because otherwise why would you? So that's another little mystery that we're going to unravel as the series goes on.
That was cool, actually. Yeah, I think
that's
she
good,
says, that Captain Jack Harkness failed to report to duty in 1942 or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because Gwen's like, oh, and she's like, oh, you're seeing ghosts.
Yes, that's right.
And that messes with her mind a little bit more. She's thinking, what was going on? Yeah, which is cool. Let's talk about the pizza guy. He was funny.
Oh, yeah, when she goes to try and track down Torchwood, and he's like, she's like, do you have a Captain Jack Harkness? No. I don't suppose you have a Torchwood. Yeah, we deliver to them all the time. That was brilliant.
Yeah, like the last straw.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it can't be Torchwood. Well, that's Torchwood. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Regulars, yeah. What about Rhys Williams then? Kai Owen.
Yeah. So he's, another sort of, he has a more pivotal role later on, doesn't he? But that's obviously Gwen's partner. And again, I feel like their relationship is genuine. There is a real good chemistry between Rhys and Gwen, or Kai and Eve, whichever way you want to. Yeah. They instantly feel like a couple to me. The fact that he's saying to you're overworking. Do you know you woke up here? Should you be staying out late? And they feel like a couple. I really really like him. He's not in it much in this particular episode, is he? But we will see more of them together. And I think he's so suited to the part as well. I really, as I said, believe them as a couple, these two.
Yes.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. What about Yanto?
No. He doesn't get much in this, does he? He makes a quip about not being late for the pizza.
Yes.
Does he do? Yeah, he doesn't do much else in this one, does he?
Not really. He sort of nudges her up the stairs.
Yeah.
I thought he was in it more, mate, because I know he's in it a lot more further on.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like almost a cameo in this one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he doesn't get much to do in this one.
Fairly good, though, for what he...
Yeah, like old Yanto, yeah.
What about the three members of Torchwood then? So Susie, Toshiko and Owen, those guys.
Well, I think Owen probably gets the most because he, with the love potion, he sort of gets the most out of his scenes, I think. So you get his character immediately, that he's a cheeky chappy, maybe a little bit selfish, but quite likable, isn't he? A bit of not a rogue, that's the wrong word.
He's a bit of a lad, isn't he?
He's a bit of a lad, is Owen.
Yeah, he's out on a Friday night. He wants to get a bit of action. And he's not making any bones about it, because he even tries it on before he even uses the love potion.
Oh, yeah, I know. She's not interested.
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm tired. I don't want to do all the chat. Let's do And I thought at that point he'd already used it, but no, he's very forward.
Yeah, he does play it well. I think he's good, Burn Gorman. He's I hope he won't mind me saying this because I'm sure he listens, but he's an odd looking chap, isn't he? But he does play the part well, I think. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I just mean he's got a look. He would stick in your mind if you met him. And like you said, he uses everything he's got to get the ladies. So
and also an interesting inclusion of someone's sexuality as well, because you would assume that the non-heterosexual stuff would all be down to Jack.
Oh, right.
Captain Jack, you know, you'd think that all of that stuff would be at his door. He would be the one instigating all that. But there's a scene where we mentioned earlier, he's walking down the street with the girl he's picked up in the bar with the love potion. Her boyfriend is obviously very miffed. And then he uses the potion on him as well. Yeah. And it's like, right, taxi, off we go. So it's interesting that Russell T has included another person who's not shy in the that area of his life.
Yeah. It's funny. I might be wrong, but I don't remember that we explore that any further. I don't know if it's there just as a little, because I just get the feeling that Owen's just like, I just want to get on with it. I'm not really bothered if it's you come along as well. Then I don't think it's by choice, but I kind of feel like he's not bothered either way.
Yeah,
he just wants to have a night of fun. I don't know. Do we explore that later?
I think we
do. Don't tell me. Do we?
I think we do a very little bit. I don't think it's a plot point or anything at all. But...
All right. Yeah, I must admit, I didn't remember that Owen was that way inclined.
Yes. He was mowing the grass.
I thought he was a ladies' man. Yeah, I thought that was Jack, but yeah.
And then Toshiko.
Yeah. She's not supposed to be the same character as in World War III, is she? Or is she? Because she's in that scene with the space pig.
Yeah.
Is it meant to be the same? Oh, I can't remember now. She has the same. I'll have to check that, because it's a similar sort of character, isn't it? Like the scientist, and it's probably not.
I don't think so.
No, but it could be.
It could.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't, if they turned around and did that, I wouldn't be surprised. But she's kind of that sort of geeky scientist. Like you said, she takes the book reader home. She hasn't gone with the love potion or the glove. She goes for something nice and simple and geeky, which I like.
Yeah. She was in Aliens of London. No, she was.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah. What did I say? World War III.
Yeah. No, she was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah.
So is it supposed to be the same character, or is it just the same actor?
I'm going to say that in a weird timey-wimey, let's put some Vaseline over the lens type of thing, that it's probably her, but sort of retrofitted to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they may mention it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Don't they make a reference to Gwen being related to the character in the Charles Dickens story at some point? Because obviously, she looks very similar. I don't know why they feel this need to explain it, though. It's a bit like with Capaldi, the fact the Moffat felt he had to explain it, that he looked the same as, the Fires of Pompeii guy. I don't think I don't think when I see Colin Baker in Arc of Infinity, I don't think, now, wait a minute, I need to know, why does he look like the Sixth Doctor? I don't always feel the need for an explanation, but I kind of like the fact they do slightly tie it in with it, I think, later on.
But no, you are right, though. It is meant to, I think it is meant to be her.
Right, okay. Well, that's cool. I kind of like that, yeah.
What about, and her character as well, she doesn't really do much. I mean, I don't think her character in general sort of comes to the front really until the next series of Torchwood anyway, but she seems quite quiet still at the minute. We don't really hear too much from her, but she was kind of cool.
Yeah. I sort of instantly like her character, if you like. Yeah.
Now, what about Susie then? A bit more of a pivotal character for the first one.
Yeah, again, I felt there was a lot more to explore with her character, so I hope, I'm looking forward to seeing if she does come back and stuff, or when she comes back. She's good in it though, isn't she? Like that end scene, like you said, the play out between her, Gwen, and Jack. It's a good scene. It's a good end to the episode. It's played out really well by her, I thought. No, because you get that she doesn't really want. She's dug herself in a hole, isn't she? Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to really kill these people. Well, she kind of has gone down that route, but I think she realizes what she's done, and she just thinks the only way out is to make a break, and she's got to kill anyone that knows that she's the murderer to do that. So she's dug herself in a hole, and I thought she played it pretty well. So I'll definitely up for a bit more Susie story later on, or whatever happens, because I genuinely can't remember.
So I like it was a good twist, and I think it was a twist. I think it was a twist that wasn't necessarily needed. to make the story, an amazing introduction. But it was good that they were thinking around more of an impactful scene to get Gwen into Torchwood.
Yeah, I see.
Because they do play on this thing that, Jack says, look, we've now got a vacancy. So it sounds to me like if this didn't happen with Susie, that he wouldn't have offered Gwen, a toe in the door, if that makes sense.
He would have just wrote, what's he called it? Not Rohypnol. He would have wiped her memory.
Yeah.
No, what's it called? No, he does say it. Not. What's it called? Rad.
Something. Some scientific.
Sorry, no, I don't mean right. I mean whatever it is. Radcon, whatever it is.
Something
uses.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
An amnesia pill.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that. But yeah, so I get the feeling if this wasn't going on, then Gwen probably wouldn't be in Torchwood or offered the role. So
no.
So it's cool though. It's cool, and it is a good twist, like we said. What about Gwen then? Eve Miles.
She's great, I think, in this, because she does have to sort of carry the story to a certain extent, doesn't she? She's right in the bang in the middle of it, and she has quite a lot to do, I think. And I think she's really good. I think her acting's on par with the rest, if not a little bit above. I think she's a good lead character, very sort of strong in the way she's written, I think. Because she is a policewoman, to begin with. So she is playing a slightly different part in this opening episode, isn't she? She's a policewoman who's, investigating. And, I think she's good. I like the scene when she's with, what's what I call him, Owen? It's Reese, isn't it? Yeah, Reese. Yeah, I just think they're a great couple. But I think she's very good in this. Just overall, the only thing, there is only one point really in this story where it slightly falls down for me, and it does involve Gwen, and it's nothing to do with Eve Miles. I think she's great in it, but I did kind of think when she does get drugged, so she loses her memory of Torchwood, so she goes back to her apartment and she's frantically typing away on the computer and stuff, and I did sort of think, wouldn't you have just written it down? Because Yanto's at the other end, isn't he, wiping everything she's writing on the computer, which is I know it's a plot device, but I did think that did sort of slightly knock off a point for me, because it does seem very obvious that you would just go back to your apartment or wherever and write Torchwood down on a piece of paper, wouldn't you, or something?
Yeah.
Captain Jack. You wouldn't sit there at a computer trying to type up all this stuff, which is what she does. So that I know it's a plot point, but that to me did slightly bring the score down, because I was thinking she would just write it down. Why would you go and sit at a computer and do it?
Well, she had no way of knowing that they would be able to hack a computer.
But you can't, if you write it down, you can't, it's there, isn't it? You can't erase.
She did write something down. She wrote remember down.
Remember. Yeah, but why did she write remember? Why didn't she just write Torchwood?
Torchwood, yeah, true.
It's no good writing remember, because you'd be like, oh, what am I remembering? Write down Torchwood. That to me was a little bit silly.
Right,
but as I said, it's a real minor thing, but I did think that. I was thinking, why write remember? Just write Torchwood down, or write Captain Jack down. Don't write remember. It's a plot point, but it probably one they couldn't really get around, because if otherwise it's too easy, isn't it? But I think she's great in it, actually. Eve Miles, I think she's really good in it.
No, I agree. I like her intensity in this one, because she has to be fairly serious and on the job and on the ball, doesn't she, as a policewoman?
Yeah,
she does very well. But I really like her determination. When she's hunting down Torchwood, and she won't let it go. She's seen something and she can't, because there's a few scenes where Reese is asleep next to her, snoring his head off, as you would do. But she's like wide awake. She can't turn her brain off because she's seen something and she wants to find out what that is. So I like the intensity, I like the determination. And she is, some scenes she's really cool. I like how we go from her being quite scared at some point. So when she first goes into Torchwood, and she knows that the murdered victims have been sort of covered up by Torchwood.
Yeah.
So she's got a bit of fear there. You can see it. Like, well, if you guys are happy to do that, you're probably going to do that to me. And then obviously the scene with Susie and Captain Jack, she's really fearful when she's that. And then she's also got this kind of Welsh grit to her as well. She's...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She's just going to get into it. And when he offers her the role at the end, there's not much hesitation there, really. She's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm up for it. So she's a strong character. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. She is. Yeah. You can see she's going to fit in very well with that team. Mm-hmm. In fact, you can already feel this team coming together, I think, in this one. You already see that there's so much potential in these characters that we barely tap in this first episode. We literally just get introduced to them and a little snapshot of who they might be. Mm-hmm. And there's all the mystery of Jack, It's a good introduction to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what about Captain Jack himself then?
Mr. Barrowman. Well, he's Mr. Barrowman, isn't he? He's just effortlessly great, isn't he? He's just like, he's so calm and cool, and he's just I don't know, Barrowman, he just nails it. I think he just feels like he is Captain Jack. I don't even see him as an actor playing a part. He just seems to encompass this part for me. I don't know if you feel that, but when he's just sat chatting to her at the bar and he's got that grin on his face and he's just Mr. Cool, isn't he? You feel like he could go from being that to turning around and shooting an alien in the bar in seconds. And I do think he's good as Mr. Barrowman. He does play the part well. Yeah. And I like he doesn't get a lot. It doesn't get massive amount to do in this, so does he? You get the feeling that we're really going to see more from him in every way, as the series goes on. But he is good in what he gets to do, I think.
Yeah, and I think I like the consistency as well between Doctor Who and Torchwood. I think he's not a wildly different character, even though it's a bit more adult.
Yeah.
I think he still plays it quite well. And I think for this first one, it was more about Gwen as well.
It's more Gwen, isn't
rather
it?
than, full on Torchwood. It was more about her discovery of what's going on.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anything you want to mention that's not good, because we have praised it quite heavily? Is anything that brought it down for you?
No, there really isn't, mate. I thought the music was good. I thought the effects were okay. I thought they stood up well, because what we were talking 12 years ago, is it? Hang on, let's get our maths right, because we got it terribly wrong.
We got told off, didn't we?
So it's 16 plus. No, it's not 12, is it? Or whatever it is. 2006.
Yeah, it's 12 years ago.
I thought the episode looked really good. Yeah, my only gripe is that plot point about the fact that I think she would write it down rather than type on a computer for Yanto to wipe. That's my only gripe with it, really, is it's just seems a bit too convenient. But I thought it was a great introduction to the series. I thought the music's really good at it, even though it was so loud. but it's so good. It really added to the atmosphere, and they do actually keep it quiet when it needs to be, like the scene when Gwen's walking through the hospital corridor towards the Weevil. There's hardly any music there for a few whiles. It's all atmosphere, her saying, sort of close-up shots of her looking terrified. So that's good. But I thought the Weevil looked good, actually, as well. Just to give it a little bit more spray. I actually thought the prosthetics, which I can never say, looked good on it. It's a good design, the Weevil. Very simple, but quite
effective.
Gruesome. And you kind of, I would be pretty scared of that thing, even behind the glass when she's in the hub. I think he's a scary looking chap. So I have to say, mate, very little to negative on this, mostly positive from me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's there are a few little things that brought it down for me. That one of them being some of the scenes were quite long.
Oh, really? I found it nipped along quite nicely. But
no, I mean, in terms of editing and nipping from scene to scene, it was okay. But there were a few scenes where sort of things lingered a little bit.
Okay.
Like when she's in the hospital, that goes on for quite a little bit. And when she goes into the back entrance, I think Jack mentions it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she sees Yanto. I think, it's like she's very slow moving and he's just staring at her, and it's a bit like, come on. A few things like that. It was a little bit, I can't really complain too much. It's not a big negative, but I mean, I really can't think of too much that brings it down for me. The only thing I would say is it's not an amazing story. It was never going to set the world on fire for its, brilliant, amazing story. But in a way, I feel like it didn't really need to be at this point. I think it was just, like we said, a lot like Rose. It just needed to be an establishing story to get everybody on board with what's going on.
Yeah.
And say hello to the characters and what we're going to look forward to and so on. So in a way, it's a kind of a simplistic story. It did have a nice little twist. It wasn't, It wasn't who's the guy that wrote The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like those leagues of, you know, complex, you know, twisty story arc. But yeah, I think it was a very good kickoff.
Maybe that's why they edited the two together when they first showed it. Maybe they felt like they needed to give you a bit more. Because as I said, I think it's a great introduction. But yeah, maybe they, you know, like you said, maybe they wanted to sort of progress the story a little bit more on that first opening night, which I think works. But I would like to say I think the direction is really good in it. Brian Kelly was the director on it. I think he really makes the most of the Cardiff location in this. I thought it looked fantastic. Like what's that thing called with all the water flowing down it? The Torchwood hub, but what is that thing? The water fountain, whatever that is.
I don't know what the fountain's called itself, but I know
it does have a name, I think.
That oval shaped thing is called the Roald Dahl Pass, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but I don't know if the actual fountain's got a name.
Right, okay, because I mean, it just looks, as I said, the direction was shot beautifully, all of that stuff.
It probably has got a name.
It probably has. I'm sure we've got some Welsh listeners that are screaming at us right now.
Yeah, Dean Jones, probably one of them.
Yes, yeah. Dean Jones will know. Yeah.
Anything else, mate, before we give our scores?
No, I'm done, yeah.
Right, I think it's me to go first.
I think so.
And I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. I thought you'd be below me because I'm also giving it an 8.
Okay.
I had a feeling that you'd be a 7.5. Yeah. I'm giving it an 8 as well.
Cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yes. Can't think of many complaints.
7.5 just felt too low. Anything over an 8 was too high. It's just a good, solid episode, I thought.
Yeah. What did our beautiful listeners think? We did the usual Twitter poll, and a whopping 94% of you liked it, and only 6% didn't like it. Went with Stinky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had a few comments on Twitter as well. Let's have a look. Rob Kernock said, it's a brilliant episode. I often refer back to this and watch it quite a lot. Great introduction to all the characters. He says standard Russell. And a cool intro to a great series. 9 out of 10.
Awesome.
9 out of 10. Marcus Walker says, an enjoyable first episode. However, you can compare it with other episodes in the series that doesn't stand up as well. It is the first episode and we need to be introduced to new characters with a fairly simple plot. Enjoyable but forgettable 6.5.
Oh, okay.
Sammy Satine says, a solid first episode of a brand new series. I think it's great. We have Gwen as our way into the world of Torchwood. I find the idea of the resurrection glove very interesting. I also like the knife design. 7 resurrection knives out of 10.
Cool.
Where was I? Silent Nerd C137 says, a great start and introduction to the Torchwood team. I really love the beginning scene where Gwen sneaks to watch the Torchwood team at work, and without even looking, Jack knows that she's watching them. Also like the series format of focusing on a character per episode. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I liked that scene as well. What do you think?
Our good friend Martin Badwilf says, my biggest problem with the first series of Torchwood is the questions we had to wait for Jack to appear in Doctor Who again to have answered.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
Andrew Cuthbert Jr. says very simply, the first time the word estrogen was heard in the Doctor Who universe.
Right.
You know, and it's raining and Jack's like...
Yeah. Cool.
C. Parry 90 says very simply, super likey. Oliver Linklater says, only episode of Torchwood I've ever watched so far, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the introduction of Torchwood and going through it in Gwen's perspective was really good.
Cool. Hope you like the rest. Yeah.
I hope so, yeah. Conor McHale says, an enjoyable episode, but like Invasion of the Bane, felt like they were still working out the kinks. The hub looks amazing, and I like how the villain is not an alien. Although it has its own style, still feels part of Doctor Who. 8 out of 10.
Cool. Connor will know about the Big Finish stuff with Susie. He's a big Finish fan.
Yep. Torchwood is amazing, says the Ginger Luke. I rate this highly. Great cast, great show, and it's also great to see how Tosh and Gwen has appeared in Who and reprised their roles.
Ah, right. Cool.
Yes. Eve Miles, she was in the Victorian episode, wasn't she, that we can't remember the name of?
We can never remember that. She was.
The Eccleston story.
That's the one.
With, anyway. Yeah.
She's in that, yeah.
Emily Ward, at Emily Who, says...
Unquite Dead. Sorry.
Unquite Dead, that's it. She says, rewatched Series 1 recently and it's still so good. The only gripe about everything changes is that the police don't cover the first body over while pouring with rain. Evidence washing away.
But that's a good point. Yeah, and thought of that.
Good thought there, Emily, sorry. Let's have a look. Toby, at Gallifrey's Guard, says, RTD doing what he does best. Setting up a series, creating strong characters, not focusing on plot, just developing a likeable team you want to spend an hour with. Yeah. Jamie Aspinall says, great episode to the start of a fantastic series with great characters such as Gwen Jack and magnificent Yanto Jones, but with one little dud, which is Susie, because we would have learned more about her. I think he's saying she shouldn't have been killed off there.
Yeah.
Jake2604 says, I really enjoyed Torchwood. The ep didn't quite grab me straight away, but as the series progressed, I fell for it. Children of Earth will always be at its best. That was phenomenal television. Callum Red says, as is often the case with the opening episodes of TV shows, Everything Changes isn't much about the story, but I didn't find that to be a negative. It did a good job of explaining the concepts of the show to new viewers and respected the fact that they have not seen anything from Doctor Who. It hardly referenced Who at all, which shows it had confidence in itself. It wasn't afraid to be its own thing, which I admired. 7 out of 10.
Yes.
Sarah Louise Bag at the Running Hoovying says, just brilliant. I enjoyed it as much today as when it was first released. It really sets the scene for what's to come and shows Gwen rightfully earning her place in Torchwood through her sheer tenacity, determination and perseverance. A 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
Maria Kalitichu, our own Maria, says, strong first episode. Love Gwen and love Andy. And that's going to do for Twitter. Over on the Facebook page, we had a few there. Chris Parry says, love this episode. Even though it's a simple plot, it's great to get an intro to Torchwood and the main characters. Great mix of mystery, humour and outright Torchwood cheesiness. 9 out of 10. Luke Allen, it's clever and brilliant. The cast is great and the show is lovely. Really enjoyed Torchwood, but I think that the first episode correctly went, this show is adult without horrific violence or graphic sex or bad language. It just allowed families to not let their children watch it before it got any darker. Love the episode, love the show. 8.8898188798 out of 10.
Great.
There you go.
There we are.
Jason Thayer says, excellent episode for a pilot, but why introduce a character if she's just going to be killed? I hate it when they do that. It's all in the name of plot twists.
And she'll be back.
She'll be back.
Apparently.
It's the Who universe, isn't it? So she'll be back.
Yeah.
Sir Jacob Birtwistle says, what a brill start to another amazing spin-off. Fab episode does a great job at introducing the team. Barrowman is on fire with the rest of the cast. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, blimey.
Wow. Lewis Blackmore says, a fantastic start to the series and does what Russell does best, which is develop the characters immediately. We are, as the audience, taken on a journey through Gwen's perspective, which is a Russell trope, and it's like Maria in SJA and Rose in Who. Very true. And
yes.
Given an insight into what Captain Jack is really like, he goes on to give it a 10 out of 10. Martin Arnold says, really enjoyed Children of Earth. It was the only Torchwood I would watch seriously. I couldn't get into it, and I gave up all the other episodes. I think he means Everything Changes, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was that one he watched, I'm not sure. It was the obvious attempt at being sexy and adult. I couldn't reconcile with that in the Whoniverse. I don't own the DVD, so I can't give it another go. Sorry, guys, but I'll be handing back my Whovian badge.
No, don't do that, Martin.
Martin, stick around. As with the case with so many things, if you've not seen it in ages, just give it a go. It's on. Is it on? No, it's not on Netflix or anything, is it? Get hold of it.
No, I don't know if it is or not. No.
iPlayer. Actually, speaking of iPlayer, I must interject just very quickly. Somebody let me know this on Twitter, but all of the Sarah Jane adventures are on iPlayer.
Are they?
Yeah, all of them.
Oh,
so when we come around to do our next SJA review, if you don't own the Sarah Jane Adventures DVD or Blu-rays, they're on iPlayer.
Right, cool.
Just remembered that. Last few on here. Carl Evans says, a mature and well-written series by Russell, characters that each have a backstory which we learn about later on, and how they ended up within their Torchwood roles, and Torchwood itself mentioned in New Who Series 2, Tooth and Claw. Oh, that's right, Queen Victoria, doesn't she say?
Oh, that's it, yeah.
She sets it up, yeah. A very strong 7.5.
Nice.
Finn Morris Young says, it's been a while, but it's good to be back. Torchwood is a great show with interesting characters, this one being no exception. The story was good, and the introduction was brilliant. I'd give this a 9 out of 10.
High.
Lewis Palmer just watched it for the first time. Never seen an episode of Torchwood before, but if this is the standard, then I'm very excited to continue.
Lewis, that really surprises me. Yeah.
Well, says he liked the Who references, and it's fun to look back over 10 years on, as it's dated very well. I love how you can clearly see an advertisement for the old Doctor Who exhibition at the Red Dragon Centre in one of the shots.
Ah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Overall, as a Torchwood newbie, I'm looking forward to continuing with the show and with the podcast. 7.5 out of 10.
Excellent. I love that we'll be going on that journey together. That's really cool.
Yes. He says, a side note, the interlaced picture looks amazing on Blu-ray.
But what about the sound, Lewis?
What about the sound, yeah. Zach Jenkins says, first time watching Torchwood, another one, and it did not disappoint. Brilliantly shot and written. I miss TV like this.
Yeah.
Joseph Howarth, I will admit, for a first-timer, this was actually pretty good. The characters are quite complex, the plot's nice and simple to understand, and the chemistry between Captain Jack and Gwen is very well executed. One thing I don't like about the episode is Owen. I hate that little slime ball. Crikey. Joseph goes on to give it an 8 out of 10. And lastly, Miles McKenzie says, what a great start to the series. Love how mysterious Jack is to people, and the introduction to Torchwood had Rose SJ pilot, which yet again played off greatly. Loved how Jack names the Weevils they capture. I think it's just this episode. Just something I love about the first episode, especially Gwen's introduction. Great acting and a great start. 7.5.
Cool.
Little slime ball. There we go. Thank you so much for all of your reviews. I think overall it's done pretty well.
Yeah. I was going to say pretty much high scores there. Yeah.
I think we even had a 10 out of 10 from somebody. Yeah. Jake Birtwhistle, yeah. A solid 10 out of 10 from Jake.
Nice. But pretty much high scores all round, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Apart from Martin, who couldn't get into it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was Torchwood, Everything Changes. It's good to watch that, mate, and go through the review.
Yes.
Next week, it is back to modern Doctor Who with the 11th Doctor story. What have we got?
So next week, yeah, like you said, 11th Doctor action. It's called...
Oh, no. Come on, man.
What is it called? A good man goes to war. Next week, A Good Man Goes to War. Yes. Not only can I not remember the name of it, I can't remember anything about it at all.
Well, this is serious,
I don't even know what story it is. So I'm quite looking forward. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I'm intrigued to watch this one. I literally can't remember it at all.
Is this series? This is series 6, isn't it? I think.
Series 6, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I haven't seen this one in quite a while.
No, me either.
Yeah. Be interesting.
Series 6. We tend to shy away from it, don't we? We don't. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. See how it goes. But yeah, get your DVDs or your Blu-rays ready for that one, because we'll be asking for your reviews and thoughts as always. And I think we'll do there for 184.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us and listening to this week's show. And thank you so much for your reviews and thoughts on Everything Changes, our first Torchwood review.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. So I think that's our new schedule has kicked off quite successfully. So after next week, after the 11th Doctor story, will be back on Sarah Jane. Should be good.
That's it. Yeah, and then a classic Who. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to confirm, at the start of each month, Sarah Jane, then classic Doctor Who, then Torchwood, then modern Doctor Who. Yes. Until we get to Series 11.
Yeah.
With Jodie.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
When will that be?
September.
August?
A lot of people are saying September. Yeah. So, who knows? Who knows?
I'm willing it to come round, but I don't want to wish my life away, but I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. In the meantime, though, head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our episodes there. And we've got links to all of the different social media accounts. Head over to those. Give us a like or a follow, as we chat lots of Who in between recording and episodes. Also, I'll put a link on the website later today, so it should be there by the time you're listening to this. Be a link over to the Discord server. Head over there. We're on there most evenings, chatting Who and all that stuff. And if you're an iTunes listener, if you could give us a review and a rating, that'd be amazing, because that really helps us. Or whatever podcast network you listen to, or whatever app, those ratings and reviews really do help push us up the list a little bit. Yeah. We had a few reviews on iTunes recently, again, some really nice ones, so thank you so much for taking the time to do those. Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. Just do a search on YouTube for The Geek's Handbag. Follow Adam on there, give him a sub. I like a bunch of his videos. You could lose hours.
Hours of your life
watching
just
through
drift away.
Yeah, all of his unboxings and reviews and so on. Very, very cool. And you're also on everything else, aren't you? Just do a search for The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah, it's Insta the lot.
The whole lot. He's on the lot.
The whole shebang.
So until next week for 185, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,